Hello there. This is The Brand with Ben Busher, a YouTube channel dedicated to marketing, branding, and design. If this is something that interests you, go ahead and subscribe to our channel where we'll have marketing videos posted on a weekly basis. So think of it as having your own marketing consultant at a push of a button. I'm here to help you with anything you need to know about the marketing world. So let's go ahead and hop into it. This video is part one of three of a creative brief series that we're going to basically teach you how to write your own creative brief. So first we're going to look at what the creative brief exactly is. Then I'm going to show you 5 elements of an effective creative brief. And then finally, I'm going to show you how to write your own creative brief step by step. Let's see. Here's a little overview of the video series. So for those of you that are just new to the marketing world, the agency world, or perhaps your professor, maybe like myself, gave you an assignment on writing creative briefs, this is your go-to video guide right here. It's going to be 3 quick, easy videos. You're going to be a creative brief pro by the time we're done, as long as I can say that over and over again. Before we get started, I'd like to talk about communication. Communication is the cornerstone of any successful marketing campaign. It's an essential part of this is the creative brief. It allows you to outline the client's vision and ensure that everyone is on the same page. This includes your developers, your creative team, your project managers, and whoever's above you in that regard. I would say this step is probably even more important than creative, which is ultimately going to be your finished product. As Will Burns of Ideacycle says, the creative brief is the most sacred of all documents. And I would have to agree with that because you need to know where you are in order to know where you're going. And in order to know where you're going, you have to sit down with your team, you have to talk to your clients, and you have to have a very good idea of what they want, what do they consider success, and then figure out what creative works with that, how you're going to organize your team, and ultimately what marketing channels you're going to use. So, first part of the video, let's do a little overview and see what we're going to cover here. We're going to see what the creative brief is and what it isn't. I'm going to show you some examples because good marketers copy, great marketers steal. And then why do we create them and who uses these things in the first place? So hopping right into it. Nice definition of what a creative brief is. It's a short guide, often created by a consultant or a creative project manager that sums up the product's missions, goals, challenges, demographics, messaging, and other key details. So depending on who your audience is, who your client is, it's going to include more or less of these different elements. Some more specifics, exactly what are we talking about with a creative brief? It's a short 1 to 2 page document outlining the strategy for a creative project. The format can be text, graphic, video, or a combination of both, but don't be fooled. Like a plain text creative brief can be just as effective as a beautifully designed document with graphics and charts and all that sort of thing. A lot of it depends how your team works and how your creative team manages its workflow. It can be a roadmap for guiding the creative team on how to best reach the campaign's stated goals. So just think of it that way. You're going to take all the stakeholders, everyone's going to get together, and then this document is going to be your Bible that you give to the creative team to say, here's how you're going to execute this. So let's see what else creative briefs include. Well, the guts of it is a short brand statement, a brief overview of the campaign's background and objectives, key challenges that the campaign aims to resolve, whether it be messaging, maybe you feel like you have a competitor that is taking away your messaging. Think of like the battle between Lyft and Uber, that type of thing. As we say, chief competitors. So you can definitely do a SWOT analysis. And I like to point that out. There's a lot of other analyses that go into the creative brief. So don't think it's a standalone document. They're all interconnected. The primary message describing the brand's value and market positioning and communication channels on which the campaign will run. So whether that be social media, whether that be traditional media, it doesn't matter. You need to figure out what channels you're going to run. So in essence, the creative brief describes the what of the project, i.e. its objectives, and how to achieve it, i.e. the creative approach. Turning to like specific examples, I always like to use the Hush Puppies. And if you actually Google Creative Brief, you'll find everyone seems to use this one. So fold back to great marketers steal, right? Hopefully I'm a great marketer. Otherwise, I don't know why you'd be listening to me. Anyways, take a look at what's going on here with the Hush Puppies. They have their brand statement. It's real concise and clear, and this kind of sets the ground for where the rest of this creative brief is going to go. You talk about the campaign context and background. We go into the target audience, of course, your objectives via advertising, key messaging, product ideas. All these things are important and great things to include in your creative brief. In fact, I would say take this creative brief and just copy over whatever your specific company details hold with their values. Who's your competition? How's your brand voice going to be channel and your channel is going to be? So, for example, when we say brand voice and channels, think about how you communicate with an audience on Instagram versus how you communicate with the audience on Facebook. Boomers, am I right? So you're going to use different messaging, different brand voices, depending on what channels you're on to engage your audience that you're trying to reach. All right, going with the why and the who. So beyond standard agency practice, what's the point, right? And who are all the stakeholders involved in creating the creative brief? We're doing, how many times can I say creative in one video, right? So why write a creative brief? Well, there's many reasons. The simplest answer is it's standard agency practice, right? Your project manager says we got to put it together, or your project manager is putting it together and is asking for your input. Well, your clients are going to expect a creative brief before they sign off on a project, and your creative team will expect it before they start working. So think of your clients on this end. You're here in the middle as the project manager, and then your creative team's here. And you have to take what your clients are saying, make sense of it, put it in a document to speak to the creative team or the developers as well. Like everyone needs to be on the same page here and speaking the same language. There are other reasons, though, to do a creative brief beyond just very simple client communication to creative team workflow. It really helps you ensure that you're on brand across all marketing mediums, meaning without a creative brief, how do you know that the brand image, look, and feel is going to be the same on Instagram or Snapchat? Maybe your logos are different. Maybe your colors are a little bit off. This helps define your brand and works as sort of an ad hoc brand book, if you will. It also helps clarify the brand vision for a creative team. You're going to get together. You're going to talk about this stuff. And instead of just assuming what everyone thinks the brand is, you're going to be able to actually clarify what the heck is going on there. It's also going to offer inspiration and give your team a quick starting point to brainstorm ideas. So instead of just talking to your cubicle mate and maybe whoever's around you, it sets like the stage for like, okay, like let's brainstorm, let's think about what's going on with this brand, and let's kill this thing, let's make it really badass. Finally, it gives third-party contributors a quick understanding of the brand and its background, meaning if you have freelancers and you have other people outside of the team, it's going to be able to bring them into the fold a little more. It also helps reduce client to creative conflict by ensuring that they're on the same page. If you haven't worked for an agency, that's always a problem, especially when your clients are very needy and they need their hand held through everything. Don't think they're all that way, just most of them. And also, it helps align the client's budget and expectations with you. It helps align the budget alignment with the creative and the client, meaning they have a better understanding of the amount of work that goes into what you're doing and why you're billing what you're billing for them. Okay, now we got that out of the way. Who creates the creative brief? Okay, well, whoever is responsible for managing the client relationship, but additional team members are going to be required for input. This includes creative, marketing, accounts, developers, you name it. Whoever's going to be giving inputs as far as work goes to the creative brief are going to be involved in some regard. So creative team, for example, they need to analyze whether the client's vision is viable, and they help brainstorm creative ideas. The marketing team, well, they're going to gather customer data, analyze competitors, and develop a viable media strategy. And of course, accounts team, they're going to analyze budgets, the fun parts, right? So who is the creative brief made for? Well, I think we've touched on this a little bit, and I'm sure you can take a pretty good educated guess. You might assume the end user of the creative brief is the client, but that's not true. It's the creative team, as we've said before. Your job, thus, is to interpret the client's vision in a way that's accessible to the creative team. How do you do this? Well, don't use marketing jargon. God forbid, don't use acronyms. Keep it plain, keep it very common sense. No fluff, no marketer speak, even though I know how much we all love to do that, and God knows I'm guilty of it as well. So you need to create it in a way that a designer and a developer can understand it. It isn't the answer to your client's problems. Rather, it is the starting point to get your team to think creatively about the problem. Think of it that way. Now, stop and ask. When it comes to the creative brief, are you confident that this brief will inspire a solution to the problem? Think of the problems that your clients could possibly have. Maybe they don't feel like they're getting enough visibility in their particular target audience. Maybe they feel like their brand is tired and worn out and you're rebranding them. There's a myriad of problems, and it goes far beyond we're not selling enough stuff. Well, there's a reason you're not selling enough stuff, and that's your problem. So moving on to form versus function. As I said before, let's go back. Boop, boop. As I said before, creative briefs come in a lot of different forms, right? Standard, graphic, video, all that sort of thing. So just to slide all over to here, I'm going to show you a couple examples of both. There's the Hush Puppies, and here we have the Reebok, and as you can see, very simple, very plain. Anyone can make this that knows how to use Google Documents or Microsoft Word or whatever document you're using. It's very simple, it's to the point, but it's effective, right? And look at, this is a company the size of Reebok, and look how simple they made this thing. Next, let's look at Quaker Oats, right? I bet you didn't see that coming. These guys put in some work. They got the infographic genie on this thing, and boy, is it fun to look at. It's also very effective because it breaks down something that's very simple like oatmeal into what's their problem, what are the facts, what's the big picture, what's their objectives, increase Quaker Oat sales. I guess you couldn't guess that, but it goes deeper on that. It gives a guide on how they're going to do this, the tools they're going to use, the cultural phenomenons that they're going to play on. So just remember, just because you have maybe a simple boring product doesn't mean you can't throw a graphical format on to blow some minds. All right, moving on. I like to say, in a competitive brand-focused market, understanding the audience is crucial for creating a better targeted marketing. And I think that's what is one of the overarching things that we need to remember when we're doing creative briefs. Yes, we're taking what the client says and we're communicating with the creative team. But you have to remember, ultimately, everything that goes into this is going to get communicated to your audience. So you need to make damn sure that what you're doing takes your target audience's considerations in first. Think how you're going to communicate with them. Think what their needs are. Think how they think. Put yourself in their shoes. Quaker Oats. Well, are we talking to health-minded people? Are we talking to people that just like oats? Well, I don't know many that like oats that aren't health-minded, but they're out there, I'm sure. But just always put yourself in your customer's shoes and use that to communicate your client's message that way. Okay, so to wrap up, we've learned what a creative brief is. We've learned who uses a creative brief, and I've shown you some examples of plain text creative briefs, real high graphical ones. You can do video ones as well, but no matter what you do, just remember the form needs to meet its function, and you need to have all these steps in it to ensure you hit all the bases as far as why are we doing this, who's our target audience, what messaging, what channels we're going to use. So that's all I have for this first video, the creative brief. What is the brief and who uses them? Look for the next video, which is going to be the ideation process, and I'm going to give you 5 essential components of a creative brief. So stay tuned for that, and have fun marketing, y'all.